Alright, it is currently the 15th of September, the day before early access releases. And since I've had early access to the early access for about 2 weeks now, I thought it would be a perfect day to make a video on kind of how I feel about the game so far. I'm going to do a list of pros and cons throughout this video. I'm going to start off with the pros and then do the cons right after that. And then I'm going to finish off with some of my own personal gripes that I have with this game. And then yeah, it's not gonna be in a particular order. So just know that. And then also, I do have a lot more cons than I do pros. I'm not trying to say like that the game is bad or anything because of that. The pros that I did list are very strong, and overall I do think this is a good game, but there are just a lot of cons, even though they are more minor than the pros. Alright, so let's start off with the pros. First of all, it's a free game, so you don't need to pay like a $60 or $70 entry fee just to play the game. I think that's a strong thing for this game. A lot of people are going to be able to play this game as soon as early access releases, and even when the whole game releases. And I think that puts the skate game in a strong position. And if they play their cards right, they can have a very good performing game. Alright, and the game overall feels very fluid. The animations are very good. They are a big enhancement when comparing it to the last 3 skate games, and even to current skate games like Skater XL and Session. Their animations are decent, but these are just way better. I think it has to do with the fact that the animations are motion captured, so they just look a lot nicer. And then you can also change the speed of your flip tricks, so if you want a fast heel, you just have to flick faster, and if you want a slow heel, just flick slower. I think that's very cool, and it's a big change that they have made in this current skate game. Another good thing about this game is that this game is very social. You can probably see all the other online players that are currently in my session. And I think it makes sense. Skating is a very social sport, and to have a game that is also social and is about skating, I think is really cool. You can even do a lot of emotes. See, like, this is one of my emotes. If you hold left bumper, then press one of the 4 directions on the D-pad, you can do one of your equipped emotes. And then I believe on your HUD too, you can also go through your emotes. I forget which one it is. Oh, right here. Then you can just go through all your emotes here. And yeah. Another good thing about this game is that the DualSense was optimized for this game. You get full controller support on the DualSense, and you don't see a lot of games like that even in 2025. So I think it's cool that they put that into this game. You get all the haptics and all the vibration that comes along with the controller, and it just feels way better. You can feel the pavement, you can feel every crack on the floor. It gives you a better experience when you're skating, and I really like that. Alright, and then also in the settings, they did give you a lot of customization for your camera, and then just gameplay settings as well. Right here you can choose from 3: streamlined, classic, and experienced. I recommend experienced if you played the skate games before. And then, you could choose your stance and your sensitivity for the flick kit system and all this other stuff. You even have assists right here. And yeah, it's good for both experienced and new players. You can change your follow strength, your field of view, your camera distance. And before, in the other skate games, you were only able to change your camera framing, so lower or high. But they give you a lot more settings over here, and they even give you an option to customize offboard camera settings if you want a different experience on your offboard. And I think that's really cool. It gives you that much more customization when you're playing this game, and I really like that they put the time and effort into that. You even have advanced camera settings over here, and yeah, it's cool that they did that. You also get a decent amount of stuff for free. So if you play the game, you see all the missions over here. You get currency that you can see right there on my top right. And with that currency, you can go to the shop over here and spend that on boxes you have already unlocked. I only have these 4 right now. And all these boxes, you get a certain amount of free stuff that you can unlock. and it's a loot box system. I have mixed feelings about that, but at least this stuff's free and they have a decent amount of cool stuff. Right here you can get Vans. Over here you can get some cool pants. You even have customized grip, socks, hats. You get all this cool stuff, and I like that they took the time to give you a lot of free stuff you can unlock just by playing the game. The first con, we're going to start off light. The loot boxes I don't really like, even though they are free and you don't have to pay real money for this. In fact, I don't even think you can pay real money for this. I just don't like loot boxes in general. Like, let's say you want these pants over here in this loot box. I've already opened 6 crates and I still haven't gotten the pants, and each one is 200, so I spent 1200 and I still didn't get pants. I think it would have been better if they gave you a shop where you can individually buy each item. I think that would have been cool. It would have been a better system, but they did go the loot box route. And for some of you it may not be a con, but to me it kind of is. I just don't like loot boxes in general. Alright, another thing about this game is that this game has a very cartoony like look to it. A lot of people compare it to Fortnite. I think it looks more like a Sims game, and it just looks very weird, especially when you compare it to the original games. See if I go over here to appearance, you can see it just how cartoony my character looks. I don't know why they decided to go this route. In the official trailer, or the first trailer, it did show realistic characters, but then they changed it to this for some reason. I think this has to do with the fact that they want this game to be a kids game, essentially. They want everybody to be able to play this game, even kids, and that's why they went with this look. I don't think a lot of people are gonna like it. I think they're going to get a lot of criticism for this, but they went this route. Alright, another issue with this game is, since it's free, you get no offline mode. You cannot buy this game in any way, therefore you always have to be connected to an online server to play this game. That's the one thing that comes with free games. It's just that you can't play them offline a majority of the times. They're live service games, and I think that's a big con when it comes to a skate game. No previous skate games have been an online only game. I think they should have had a story mode and a single player mode for $60, and that would have been a good balance between people who just want to play the multiplayer mode for free and don't really care about story mode, and then supplying a story mode and single player mode for those who care. I think that would have been a good balance, and I think that's the route they should have taken. Another bad thing about this game is the collect the bearings in certain missions, and I don't like that. I think that game just makes it look like a Tony Hawk game, and it plays a lot more arcadey, and it's just a lot more annoying. They have to follow a specific route and collect each bearing, and if you miss a bearing, most of the times you need to restart the entire thing. And even though you do start off with only like 5 bearings you need to collect, it does go up, and eventually you're going to be collecting 40 bearings, and it just becomes tedious and super boring. I don't think they should have included those types of missions. Another con is the microtransactions they have in this game. It's not a bad thing to have microtransactions in your game if it's free, but I think that the prices are really high and they definitely need adjustment. Look over here, this Founders Pack is $25. You get a motion capture suit and the full setup, a jacket, and then just stickers. And you do also get $28, which, like, if you're already buying that much bucks, then yeah, I guess it would be worth it. But if you're buying it just for the characters, it's not worth it. It's $25, and then right here you have $50, which is just an addition. Essentially, you get the same stuff as you did in the previous one, but you do get a Me-Man suit along with the setup, 3 shirts that have a front cover of each of the previous skate games, and then stickers. And then you do also get a pair of shoes for double the price. I guess you are getting more, but the shirts that are included are very lazy. They're just pictures of the cover art for the last 3 skate games, and then just stickers. Again, I don't think it's worth the $25 extra cost. But if you are getting that amount of bucks already, then I guess this would be worth it. If you go over here, you see the actual individual items and then some of the bundles. And then this is where you get to see like the actual pricing that they have for items. This beanie's 300, this hoodie's 500, shoes are 500, even 900. And then a bundle is 1600 over here. And you cannot buy items individually. So let's say you only want the shoes from this bundle, you are going to have to pay 1600 bucks. If you look at the pricing over here, you get to see how expensive the bucks are. $25 for 2800, and the minimum you can buy is 500 at $5. So those shoes that were 900, you would have to pay $10 to get, which is just absurd. For a pair of shoes is insane. The bundle was 1600, so again you would have to pay about $20, because right here if you add 10 and 5 you only get 15.50, which is 50 off. So they're trying to get you to pay more so you can buy more. And that's just really annoying. I don't like that kind of strategy when it comes to gaming. And the pricing is just overall off. It's too high. I don't see how they expect people to be buying these microtransactions. Alright, another thing about this game is how cluttered the HUD is. You have the part of the map that you're at on the top. And then you have the mission that you're doing right there on the top left. And it doesn't look that cluttered, but when you compare it to the original Skate trilogy, this just looks a lot more cluttered. And then on top of that, when you're not in a line, right here on the bottom left, you do get the D-pad layout, essentially. So like what direction does what. And then that's even more cluttered. It just ends up coming off as very 2025-y, I guess, if you want to say that. How a lot of games have cluttered HUDs. And you can simplify your HUD, but I changed it back to default so you guys can see how it looks. Also, the changes they have made to the controls I don't like. I'm going to mostly be talking about the D-pad layout over here. So if you hold right, it gives you the whole like object dropper thing. And then you can even go to the browsers right there. And then if you hold left, that's your whole social stuff. So you got your stickers, your emotes, and then your dialogue here. And then if you hold down, is where you get some other stuff. Now here's where it starts to like show like just how cluttered the D-pad is. Like if you hold down, you get your quick drop menu, which is essentially the same thing as that object browser that we just looked at. And then you have throwdowns, replay, music player, and then Skatepedia. All of these things could have been kept in the start menu. I don't see why they needed to take up space on the D-pad. It just comes off as lazy to me, like they just wanted to fill up space on the controller. And they just put all this clutter. And I think a big reason as to why they did the D-pad this way is because they wanted to give you a dedicated button for social stuff. So that you can have a whole place so you can look at your emotes, since they are going to be charging you for them, and it's a big part of their microtransaction plan. Alright, another issue I have with this game is that if you play on weaker hardware, at least for me anyways, when I play on my ROG Ally, which is a handheld, the game doesn't play right. Even though I am getting above 60 FPS, the game is running in slow motion, so that makes the game unplayable. And I have read online that people who have beefy systems still run into this problem of the game running in slow motion, even though they can handle it. So I'm not exactly sure what's causing that. I don't know if it's a driver issue or what it is, but just know that there may be an issue with slow motion gameplay. Alright, another issue too that I personally have is that for some reason sometimes when you plug the DualSense before you launch the game will not want to launch. Sometimes it crashes my entire PC with a black screen and I have to restart my PC. But more often it'll give me an error about my GPU being unplugged from the system, and that's why I can't play the game. Obviously that doesn't make any sense because I'm still getting a display out. So I'm not sure what's wrong with the game when you plug the DualSense into it before. But I think this is a me issue, even though I don't have anything that I can think of that will give me that problem. Because my brother does play this game and I do let him use one of my other DualSenses, and he doesn't have an issue with the game crashing or giving him a black screen or that error that I just mentioned. So I'm not exactly sure what's causing that. I don't know if it's a driver thing But I just wanted to put that out there as a problem that I do have and I do find tedious. Another con is that there's obviously a lack of story. There's no story in this game mode. But they do try to include some story with dialogue that they have when you're playing the game and the different missions. It just comes off as corny and just like boring dialogue because none of it really matters. It's not an actual story. So it's not really important. And then they just mention a bunch of corny terms like skaterize. So it just makes you want to tune out even more. And I don't even know why they tried to sort of include a story when they said they weren't going to include a story. It just makes it pointless to even pay attention to what they're saying, in my opinion. Alright, and another thing too is the map design. They try to make this out as a perfect skate map and skate city, but it's just not that. There are just a bunch of obstacles around the map that just do not make any sense. And let me show you one of them right now. Alright, this one is the worst one that I've seen, but there are a lot of spots that are very similar to this. Now, this railing right here looks like a good size and everything. Looks good, but as soon as you get to the actual handrail portion of this handrail, it just, like, you see how comical this looks. The handrail is way too short. No human can actually reach the handrail as they're going down the stairs. And it just makes it horrible to skate. And then there is this little kink right here. It does that. You can't even skate this round majority of the time. Sometimes it will let you actually land the trick, but that kink is just too harsh and it'll bail you out of the trick that you are doing. And like I said, there are a lot of these around the map. The handles are just too short, or the hubbers are too short, or they're too steep. There's just a lot of problems with the obstacles around this map. It's like the developers didn't use their skate eyes, to be honest with you. And no shame to the people who made these obstacles because clearly they do not skate. But they shouldn't have been put into map design if they do not know how skate obstacles should look like. Alright, another issue I have with this game is the board customization. I don't know how it's worse than it was in their previous titles like Skate 3, which is a 15-year-old game by the way, and you are only allowed to place your stickers in 3 predetermined spots. I know in Skate 3 you were able to put 1 sticker on your board, but you were able to move it anywhere you wanted. In this game you can only put it in 3 spots, and you cannot change the size of the sticker or move them around. I don't understand why they did this. Well, obviously it's because they want you to buy their own boards on the shop, but this just looks dumb in my opinion. Oh yeah, and then also another pro is that they did finally give you grip patterns in this game. So you get to choose from a lot that you can get in the boxes, and then you can also change your grip color, which just gives you that much more customization for your skater. Alright, another con is the actual customization to your skater's appearance. There is a decent amount of stuff you can do, like your height, your build, your body shape, your skin tone, and all that stuff. But when it comes to more fine customization, it's lacking. You could only choose from a certain amount of face shapes, and then you can change your texture here, but there's not that much you can do to your actual face, like how you can do in Cyberpunk, for instance. You cannot make your own changes to your eye shape or your nose shape or any of that more fine customization. I would have liked if they gave you that kind of customization, but they only give you predetermined customization when it comes to your character's appearance. Alright, another con is that there are no pro skaters in this game, and it seems like they have no intention of adding pro skaters. I think that's a big con because pro skaters have been in all 3 of their previous skate games before, and it was a big part of their previous skate games. It also seems that they want to distance themselves from notable characters, not only pro skaters but characters they have had in their previous titles, like Coach Frank, who is completely absent from the game, and it just makes the game feel less skate-like. Alright, those are the pros and cons. Now I'm going to talk about my own personal gripes that I have with this game. There are only two main ones for me. One of them being V and how annoying she is. She literally just keeps on talking and talking over and over again. And just rambling about random stories or just plot that doesn't even matter. And I think she's that much more annoying because I find the whole concept of being dumb. Apparently Shingo engineered her and she's a flying AI talking robot for camera. And I just feel like that is the most ridiculous thing they have added into this game. Like it makes no sense as to how a filmer can engineer a camera. Like it just comes off as dumb. And kids like, which is obviously the route they're going with this game, so that's probably why they added it. Alright, another thing is that Shingo is voiced by Sean Malto, which is like, they included a pro skater but then made him not play himself. He plays another character that was already in the game. Just have him play himself, and there you'll have a pro skater in your game. And they just do that as time progresses, add more pro skaters. But for some reason he voices Shingo. Another gripe that I have with this game is that, like I said, that they keep talking about just random stuff that didn't even need to be said. And one of these things is the Impervotech, which gives you an explanation as to how you're able to survive all of these harsh slams. And it just goes on to show that they're just wasting resources. I don't even know why that needed to be said or why that was included. It's like they're trying to add a story when they said they weren't adding a story, and it just comes off as corny entirely. Alright, that was really all I had to say about this game. Even though there were a lot of cons, like I said, I think this is still a good game. The huge improvement from their previous skate games, gameplay wise anyways. Like I said, you know, that's a big part to a game. The gameplay needs to be good, and I think they did that in this new skate title. And even though I do disagree with a lot of decisions they have made, they do have a good game here. But their decisions over time will show whether or not this game is capable of staying alive for longer than a year. Alright, so if you guys liked watching this video, drop a like and maybe subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, thanks for watching.